Good evening. Welcome to Prime Edition. I am Cynthia Nyamai. Now, the president says the port will not be privatized, but yes, there is a but. I will be telling you the rest of that story during the bulletin, and also in business, we will be taking you to Turkana to find out more about the magical scenes. Sports is also coming up shortly after business, that and much more. But first, let's have the highlights.
Mimi hakikisho langu kwenu ni kwamba port ya Mombasa will never be privatized. That you have my word.
The port of Mombasa won't be privatized. President Ruto assures Mombasa residents on day 2 of his tour of the coast. King Charles and Queen Camilla visit Mtongwe Naval Base and Nyali Beach as they wrap up their royal tour of Kenya. And on the back burner, counties faulted for spending below 30% of their budget on development. Welcome back. Our sign language interpreter is Anne Wangeshi. Remember, we would love to hear from you, your feedback, and you can share your feedback with us. You can share it on my social media pages, Cynthia Nyamai at Cynthia Nyamai, and also on KBC social media pages. That's on Twitter, Facebook, and also Instagram, KBC Channel 1. Now, President William Ruto has reaffirmed that the port of Mombasa will not be privatized, but the government will rope in investors to make it more profitable. The head of state of the port said that the port operations will be expanded to provide employment to over 50,000 youths from the coast region from 8,000 youths. The president was speaking at Buxton in Mombasa County, where he also issued a check to the beach management units to spur the growth of the local fish industry.
President William Ruto began the day in Kwale County, where he inspected the progress of the 2 billion shillings Shimoni Fish Port and issued a grant check to support beach management units in 5 coastal counties.
Milioni 160 na tunataka watumie hiyo pesa kuhakikisha kwamba wako na vifaa ya kuwasaidia kuwa wavuvi na wako na vifaa ya kujisaidia katika biashara ya uvuvi.
The president said the government is committed to converting Kenya's blue economy potential into tangible opportunities. Also key in the agenda is a turnaround of the fortunes of Mombasa Port.
Mimi nataka tukubaliane kama wa Kenya. Hii port tunataka tuipange mpaka iwe kati ya port 10 bora duniani.
The head of state said the expansion of local industries remains central to the creation of employment and the empowerment of the Kenyan youth. The head of state, who launched the phase 2 of the Buxton housing project and the Mzizima housing project, said Kenyans deserve decent living. The leaders urged locals to trust the government to deliver on all development promises.
Let every family in Kenya be in a position that one day they can own a home that they'll be proud of.
We want a unity of purpose. Tunataka tuzungumze maendeleo kwa watu wetu.
So we are here to partner with you. We leave politics aside. I am very pleased and happy to see that the entire legislative house, including the governor, we are here to partner.
Watu ya kujenga sio watu ya kupiga kelele. Kazi ya kujenga ni ngumu, lakini hii ya kupiga kelele na kubomoa ni kazi rahisi. So wewe rais, kaa kwa kazi ya kujenga. Rais ajenge asijenge.
Kama mpango ya county haitauzisha mahasla wa chini, kama hakuna nyumba ya shilingi 3,000 ya mama mboga ama mtu wa bodaboda aweze kulipia aishi, hiyo program sitakuwa ndani yake.
Reporting for Prime Edition from the county of Mombasa, I'm Ben Troinjue.
The role of head of public service Felix Koskei has been broadened to include overseeing the administration of all state corporations and established public entities in liaison with cabinet secretaries and principal secretaries. The changes were announced through Executive Order Number 2 of 2023 issued by President William Ruto as he reorganizes his government following recent changes to his government, as well as incorporating revisions made to various laws enacted in last year. The Office of Prime Cabinet Secretary has also had its mandate expanded, include 2 state departments in Ministry of Foreign Affairs, following the additional duties to Musalia Mudavadi as Cabinet Secretary Foreign and Diaspora Affairs. National Secretary Advisor Monica Juma, the Chairperson President's Council of Economic Advisors David D, and newly appointed Chief of Strategy Execution Aidan Mohammed have been added in the list of members of the Executive Office of the President. The Office of Government Spokesman and that of Government Press have also been hived off to the Ministry of Information, Communication and the Digital Economy and are now domiciled in the Office of the President. King Charles III has commended efforts deployed by local communities along the coastal stretch, engaged in accelerated efforts to find sustainable solutions towards marine conservation. Marine pollution, harmful human activities, overexploitation, as well as climate change have been cited as the biggest threats to the dwindling ecosystem along the Kenyan territorial waters. Our Coast Region reporter Kericho County joined His Majesty at the Nyali Beach in Mombasa as he inspected the humanitarian works of the locals.
On Thursday afternoon, King Charles III and his entourage made their way to the Nyali Beach in Mombasa. Here, His Majesty was received by a host of marine conservatives who passionately showcased their accelerated efforts towards protecting the coastal strip's ecosystem. Marine pollution, harmful human activities, overexploitation, as well as the ravaging effects of climate change have threatened the species count as well as marine life along the Kenyan territorial waters. The need for locals to join in on efforts to accelerate sustainable solution for the coastal waters was reverberated by conservatives as the king glided through the showcase stands mounted along the shore.
So if we come together and tackle this plastic waste at source through segregation, we're going to ensure that there is a thriving marine ecosystem.
Ukiangalia kasa, chakula chake ni jellyfish ambayo imefanana na plastic. Sasa hawezi kutofautisha hii ni jellyfish ama ni plastic. So akikula ile plastic ndio inakuwa sababu ya yeye kukufa. Tumerelease mayai 1212 out of 1307 eggs ambazo tuliziweka. So mafanikio ni 92%.
Plastic waste from the coastal towns are estimated to affect more than 800 marine and coastal species through entanglement, ingestion and habitat alteration. Locals are being urged to increase their vigilance towards marine conservation in a bid to protect and increase the dwindling fisheries ecosystem along the Indian Ocean. Kericho from Mombasa County.
King Charles III and Queen Camilla have visited the Mtongwe Naval Base in Mombasa County on the 3rd day of the royal visit to Kenya. Accompanied by President William Ruto, the couple witnessed a demonstration of the covert beach landing by both Kenyan Marines under the watch of their trainers, the British Royal Marines.
1 p.m. and King Charles and Queen Camilla made their way to the Mtongwe Naval Base aboard the Admiral's barge. President William Ruto, in the company of the First Lady Rachel Ruto and other dignitaries, accorded the royal couple the ceremonial welcome. The brief ceremony was complete with a guard of honor mounted by the Kenyan Navy. The Kenyan Marines then showcased their prowess by demonstrating a covert beach landing, showing defense collaboration in action acquired through a 12-week training by the Royal Marines. At the Mtongwe Naval Base, the royal couple, accompanied by the president, met with the families of the men and women serving in the Marines. The visit by the royal couple to the coast region is seen as a boost to the Kenyan tourism sector. For Prime Edition from Mombasa County, I am Ann Buru.
Postal Corporation of Kenya employees have downed their tools to demand payment of their 5-month salary arrears. Communication Workers Union Secretary General Benson Okwaro says they have been forced to go on strike following the expiry of a 21-day. Okwaro saying the strike will continue until the money owed to the postal workers is paid in full. Frederick has the story for you.
You go for 5 months without pay. You have bills to pay. You have a family to fend for. These are harrowing experiences being experienced by workers at the Postal Corporation of Kenya.
It is for this reason that postal workers across the country have downed their tools demanding payment of their 5-month salary arrears.
So the strike will go on until Postal Corporation of Kenya pays the employees the 5 months salary which is due to them.
They say their predicament began in 2020.
Well, we have gone through this for the last 3 years. To mention, if we are correct, I think it started in 2020. It has been on and off, but right now it's almost continuous for 5 months.
Communication Workers Union Co. Secretary General Benson Okwaro, while making the announcement, said their efforts to address the matter with the Postal Corporation of Kenya management and the government have not yielded fruits, hence the need for industrial action.
So let it be on the record that we have tried our best as a union to help so that we can get the corporation to come back on its feet, but it has been difficult because the management, the board, and the government does not care about the management, about the employees of this organization.
The employees say that most of them have been subjected to ridicule, as most of them are not in a position to take care of their basic needs.
Watu wengi wanaenda kutafuta vibarua huko kwa mijengo na marikiti ndio watoto wao wakule. As we are talking, watoto wafanyikazi wa posta, tangu ni third term ianze, watoto wao wajaenda shule mpaka wakati wa saa hii. Manyumba yamefungwa. Uchumi ndio hii iko juu.
Postal workers in Nyeri and Mombasa counties joined the strike in solidarity of their counterparts in other parts of the country.
How can you keep your worker for 5 months without paying salaries? Na hata ujui anakula nini, this person anakula nini, analala wapi, watoto wanaishiaje, no communication, no anything.
For 5 months they have not been given their salary. What do you expect us to do? What do you want us to do that these people may be able to get their salary?
The workers saying that the full payment of their accrued salaries is the only way that will see them return to work. Parasai Frederick, reporting for Prime Edition.
30,000 fruit seedlings have been planted in Ngong Forest as the Ministry of Interior rolls out a national tree planting initiative dubbed Trees for Food program. It is aiming at growing trees with nutritional value. The initiative, spearheaded by the ministry and a religious organization, is part of efforts by the government to increase the country's forest cover to mitigate climate change by planting 15 billion trees in 10 years.
Thursday morning at Ngong Forest in Kajiado County, a team from the Ministry of Interior and National Government led by Kajiado County Commissioner Jude Wasonga in partnership with the members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints Ngong SEK Church gathered for a tree planting initiative. It was a beehive of activities as they began the task of planting fruit trees under the Trees for Food program, a first of its kind initiative by the ministry.
Address issues like climate change, we have to grow the trees. And it's also going to be beneficial because of nutrition value which we'll get from the trees. They are very delicate and very high mature, fast maturing tree seedlings, so that within 3 years people start even eating the avocados.
Yes, the main aim of this project is increasing food security. We have around, in this program, we have around 30 to 40,000 banana trees, banana seedlings that will be distributed to the communities, and that is direct food in under a year or so.
Among the trees planted were Hass avocados, grafted mangoes, oranges, lemons, and tissue culture bananas. The fruit trees are projected to bring economic prosperity to participating communities beyond the environmental advantages.
And these trees will bless the life of the community, because these are fruit trees, can you imagine? And the purpose really behind this activity first is to help families, to produce food for themselves. So that's the first purpose, is for food security for families.
These trees are very conducive to this environment. They'll do well, they'll grow within this region.
According to the General Authority 70 African Central Area Presidency, Thierry Mutumbo, the project to plant fruit trees will be replicated across the 47 counties to mitigate climate change, address nutritional issues, and provide suitable source of income for households.
Yes, what we are planting our fruit trees, really that will match the soil where we are planting them today. So some research have been done to find out what will be the best soil where to plant this seed, and the Kajiado North Sub-County is one of the areas that has been selected for that.
This is just a start. The church has also indicated to us there will be more that they will be coming. So how we start is what is going to determine our future relationship. But we know we are going to succeed. You've started well.
He further says each county will get at least 33,000 assorted fruit tree seedlings suitable for their regions. The initiative was launched simultaneously in Makueni, Uasin Gishu, Kisumu, Tharaka Nithi, and Kwale counties before it spreads to other counties.
Now, Kenyan media have been challenged to establish a fact-checking unit to verify information and debunk false claims. A report by the Kenya Union of Journalists revealed misinformation and disinformation was rampant during the 2022 electioneering period. The study also established that a majority of Kenyans, at 54%, were of the opinion that social media was leading in spreading misinformation and disinformation, followed by radio at 19.3%. The report was released as part of the celebrations to commemorate the World Day to End Impunity against journalists.
Disinformation and misinformation have emerged as major threats to both the media and democracy in Kenya. Their rapid spread, often amplified through social media, poses risk to the integrity and public trust in institutions. This is according to a report by the Kenya Union of Journalists, which paints a picture on the greatest contributors of spreading falsehoods, with social media taking the lead at 54.8%, radio at 19.3%, word of mouth 13.9%, television 8.3%, while the least number of Kenyans at 3.7% cited print media as being responsible for spreading falsehoods. In a bid to curb such occurrences, media stakeholders have been urged to establish a dedicated fact-checking unit.
This is a trend that erodes the credibility of the profession. Therefore, I strongly urge the Media Council of Kenya to deal with such vices which are only meant to undermine the rule of law and accountability.
They leave a lot to subjective interpretation in terms of, what is a lie and what is true. And where is the fact? And where do we draw the line?
Additionally, Kenya Editors Guild called on the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution to protect journalists who continue to face harassment in the line of duty. It was noted the number of female journalists who face online harassment was higher compared to their male counterparts.
For all of us, you attack the media, you destroy the media, all of us will sink. Nobody will remain, including even the government. If the media is not there to play the role of a watchdog, even the government may not have the people to govern.
The ODPP is committed to upholding the fundamental freedoms and rights of journalists in the course of their duties, as the crimes committed against journalists erode and undermine democracy and accountability in the society.
Workers uniting and joining trade unions gives them power to fight against oppression and violations.
Statistics released by UNESCO show that more than 893 journalists have been killed since 2013.
Journalists play a key role in amplifying the voice of the voiceless. Let us stand to fight and end impunity for crimes against journalists. Reporting for KBC Channel 1, I am Kasichana Masha.
The Kenya Human Rights Commission have released 2 reports shedding light on the country's spending and the state of independent institutions in the country. The first report faults counties for failing to spend 30% of their budget on development projects as required by the Public Finance Management Act, while the second report cites the need to institute a raft of changes in operations of independent constitutional bodies to ensure their autonomy. Joe Joywan has the report for you.
According to the report, several counties have failed to adhere to the requirement that 30% of the budgets should be allocated to development expenditures as mandated by the Public Finance Management Act 2012. Furthermore, it is noted that even among counties that did meet the 30% threshold, half of them allocated more than 70% of the budget to recurrent expenditure, contradicting the 70-30 fiscal guideline.
Starting from a premise of allocating less than 30%, you can as well imagine what would happen to the spending, because they are starting from a wrong footing already. And that always impacts on service delivery, and service delivery is part of the reason as to why devolution came. We continue doing the activism and calling these MDAs and government bodies to question as a way of ensuring that we do our part as the right holders.
Meanwhile, the second report paints a picture of the challenges facing independent institutions in Kenya, emphasizing their lack of autonomy. The report suggests a series of measures to enhance the functioning of independent institutions, such as reviewing legislation, shielding commissioners from political interference, and securing adequate funding for effective operations.
Free the appointment process of chairpersons from political interferences. The process should be rigorous, impartial, and non-partisan. One of it is that what they request or what they budget versus what is allocated to them is in great variance, and that variance continues to grow over time.
For Prime Edition.
A warrant of arrest has been issued against the former Lamu senator. I will be telling you more about it after the break.
Kenya Roads Board is committed to ensure an efficient road network for a prosperous nation. Kenya Roads Board, your fuel levy at work.
Saving tips brought to you by Equity. Masaa ya Akiba ni sasa. Saving enables you to set aside money towards realizing your financial goals, whether long-term or short-term goals. The savings also come in handy during difficult financial times. Start saving today. Simply use the Equity mobile app or log on to Equity Online.
Tuache kudanganyana. Hapa mali safi, mali mbichi, kijani kibichi. Tuko Lucky Game, tunashibishana. Dial *570# chagua sanduku ya Lucky Game. Utapata sanduku 7 zinakungoja mahali pale. Chagua yako. Mali kibao, tuko na viti, tuko na vifriji hapa, tuko na TV, tuko na microwave, na pia tuko na chapa. All happening kwa *570#. Jishibishe.
Welcome back. It's now time for Scales of Justice. A warrant of arrest has been issued against former Lamu Senator Anwar Loitiptip, who, according to investigations, officers failed to honor police and court summons. Milimani's senior principal magistrate, Dolphina Alego, issued the warrant after the prosecution said he had been evading arrest and cannot be traced. Ruth Wamboy with the details in the Scales of Justice segment.
Former Senator for Lamu is a wanted man. This is after the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, in a miscellaneous application, told the court that the former senator is wanted to answer to criminal charges relating to authoring a false document and altering the same. The prosecution told the court that he is also facing charges of obtaining money by false pretense and that he has been a fugitive of the law. Meanwhile, a businesswoman operating an M-Pesa shop in Gikomba area has been charged with stealing 29.5 million Kenya shillings from Kenya National Police DT Sacco. The accused Jane Njoki was arraigned before Chief Magistrate Lucas Onyina, where she denied 3 counts of conspiracy to steal, intent to defraud, and money laundering. The court has ordered her to deposit a cash bail of 1 million and 2 contact persons, or an alternative bond of 2 million Kenya shillings. The matter will be mentioned on 14 November 2023 for pre-trial. Elsewhere, the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, Mohamed Amin, has applied for an order to hold 2 Chinese and 3 Kenyans to allow his officers investigate incidents of stolen mobile phones. The prosecution told the court the 2 Chinese nationals Zhou Weno and Zhou Gofeng ran a factory capable of fabricating mobile phones.
Factory, which is capable of just application for fabricating phones.
According to the investigating officers, they declined to have their fingerprints taken or produce their work permits.
Want to postpone the order to detain the suspect at Kericho station for 7 days.
The court will pronounce itself on the prayers so tomorrow, Friday. Ruth Wamboy for Prime Edition.
Welcome back. It's now time for business. There is a need for regular reporting on climate-related expenditure to better understand whether Kenya is meeting climate mitigation needs and how to scale up investment. Central Bank Governor Dr. Kamau Thuge is further advocating for an increase in subsidies and incentives for private sector investment in climate mitigation efforts.
Kenya is already feeling the effects of climate change with a notable increase in climate-related disasters such as the frequency of drought and flooding. These events are estimated to create an economic liability of between 2 and 2.8% of Kenya's gross domestic product annually.
We are developing a green finance taxonomy that will identify activities, investments, as well as projects that are considered green.
The central bank governor says there is need for international public finance institutions to focus on more challenging climate issues which are not receiving private finance at large scale, such as forestry, transport and water.
NGFS, the network of green financial systems, has over 100 central banks and financial supervisors. The network's purpose is to strengthen the global response required to meet the goals of the Paris Agreement and to enhance the role of the financial system to manage risks and to mobilize capital for green and low carbon investments in the broader context of the environmentally sustainable development.
The forum that brought together over 300 delegates drawn from the private sector, Africa's central bank heads and development partners resolved to implement incentives and subsidies to create a more attractive, enabling environment for private investment.
And we see our role in partnering with all of you to both unlock new opportunities, create investment opportunities, to de-risk them where necessary through structuring or use of concessional sources, and then to mobilize and crowd in private capital behind us to do that.
As a call to action ahead of COP28, they pledged to enhance coordination among the different actors to amplify impact. Regina Manyara reporting for Prime Edition.
Kenya could realize a significant increase in maize production if biological pest control measures are scaled up to reach millions of farmers. Scientists working to combat armyworm in Kenya and a Kenya shilling 240 million project funded by the Korean government say adoption of the measures can also help fortify the country's food security systems amid climate change.
The invasion of fall armyworms, often during planting season, has been a challenge not only to maize farmers, but has also hurt the country's food security efforts. Researchers have now opted to expand and disseminate integrated pest management solutions to farmers in Kenya to help contain the pest, which has been responsible for reduced harvest.
We have some biological control measures that have been found, but how to expand it. Then we have also looked for resistance and tolerance to the pest.
Scientists say low use of biological control methods to combat fall armyworms has seen farmers resort to use of harmful pesticides which degrade the soil and affect crops, a factor which is attributed to up to 50% drop in yields.
Insecticides have a lot of negative effect on the environment when used continuously. They kill the natural enemies. These are insects that make other insects reduce in numbers such that they no longer become a problem. Now, dependence on insecticides is the biggest problem right now in maize.
Through the 250 million shillings Korea Africa Food and Agriculture Cooperation Initiative project funded by the Korean government, Kenya has managed to secure 15 million shillings to develop biological control measures that, if adopted by farmers, will help improve yields and protect the environment.
Key challenge is making some of these IPM solutions available, and that is where we need to build opportunities locally to produce these biocontrol agents, whether it is parasitoids or whether it is seeds of an intercrop, more effectively available to the farmers.
I would like to encourage the each African countries enhancing their capacity for monitoring and evaluating the fall armyworms, and then developing the appropriate technology for protecting the maize.
Under the project, researchers have produced biological pest control mechanisms and are sensitizing farmers on intercropping to fight fall armyworms.
Linganisha na hiyo ya nyuma, ilikuwa beta juu walitupea maelezo na dawa zenye tunaweza piga ndo mimea ikuwe sawasawa.
Tulikuwa tunaweza pata gunia kama 2, 3, na vile tumepata mafunzo sasa naweza pata gunia kama 5, 4, 6 tukielekea juu.
So far, 60 farmers have been trained on best practices to combat the pest in Kenya. The Kenya Agricultural and Livestock Research Organization is now targeting to have the practices adopted by counties in their extension services to improve food production. The 5-year project, which started in 2020, is scheduled to end next year. Ronald Willie for Prime Edition.
Institutions of higher learning should set up innovation funds to support students commercialize their research and innovations. Don say that even though they support students to come up with unique innovations, lack of funding has seen such innovations not scaled up to the commercial level.
KCA University is holding its second Innovation Week where students are showcasing the innovations with the hope to attract financiers to scale them up. Speakers at the Innovation Week challenged institutions of higher learning to set up a dedicated research and innovation fund through support from partners in order to reduce reliance on the private sector for commercializing innovations by students.
Should put together a fund that is meant to support and spur and catalyze innovations and also ensure that our innovation hubs are operational. And we are asking partners and sponsors and stakeholders to support the initiatives by KCA University in growing research, innovation, and commercialization of research outputs.
It would be a great help if the government will step in and offer maybe incubation services or other funding services to these particular innovators so that they could take their product to the next level.
Institutions of higher learning are also being challenged to leverage academia-industry linkages to foster sustainable innovations.
I'll always want to advise more women to come and join Women in STEM and just work together, because women in STEM, we are able to do it and we can do it when we are together.
For me as a government, I would like it to partnership with more students, because here at the university, there are so many people who are innovative.
As curtains came down on the KCA Innovation Week, 6 students were awarded for developing unique prototypes that could be commercialized to offer solutions to the challenges that Kenyans face.
Let it not be something we're doing to just tick a box. So last mile connectivity, and what I mean by this is after the winners have presented the ideas and won the grants, some further support, capacity building, be it like acceleration, incubation.
That was the main thing, networking. Then also the training and being incubated now into the school's innovation hub.
Frederick Muki for Prime Edition.
A request by the Commission on Revenue Allocation to have Parliament increase by its allocation by 56.4 million shillings has been rejected, with MPs telling the state agency to manage its operations with the allocated funds. The Commission of Revenue Allocation wanted more cash to finance refurbishment of its offices, stakeholder engagement on the revenue sharing formula, and other basic supplies.
We were affected and are going to be affected by this supplementary to the tune of 56 million, which will affect our budget downwards. And as a result of that, we find it difficult if that will be sustained, because then our core mandates have not been funded, or they are the ones that are going to suffer the funding. That only leaves us with our salaries and other operation and maintenance funds.
Every request is genuine, but it depends. We have space for it. We have money for it. Because remember, you'll have to cut from somewhere else. If for every debit there is a credit, so even if their request is genuine, then we must find a place to cut. So we are going to cut, and you've seen everyone is saying, "Don't cut us, don't cut us." In fact, add us more, add us more. So it's a tricky balance, but we have always got the job done. So we'll get the job done.
Kenyan farmers could increase yields and production efficiency if they embrace technology. Andrew Makatiani, an exhibitor of a solarized chicken brooder at the ongoing African Conference of Agricultural Technology, says the innovation is ideal for smallholder poultry farmers.
A rallying call at the ongoing African Conference of Agricultural Technology to farmers is that they modernize farming practices. Among solutions on display here is the solarized chicken brooder. The brooder is equipped with a 12-volt controller integrated with humidity and temperature sensors.
We also worked on ensuring that the chickens or the chicks do not have interactions with the outside environment at the time when they're still young, because they might pick up diseases.
The well-insulated design prevents temperature fluctuations and external influences, creating an ideal environment for up to 200 chicks to hatch at a go.
In case we get clients, we can be able to model it around their needs. There are clients who want smaller brooders. There are clients who want brooders that can accommodate up to 5,000 chicks. There are those who want 1,000.
Through support from the USAID-designed Kenya Crops and Dairy Market Systems, this innovation is in use in 6 counties.
Brooders that we were able to distribute have a capacity of 1,000 chicks. And this was all to smallholder farmers. And I can tell you, it has changed the lives of these farmers in a small way, but that small thing is what makes the difference with the smallholder farmers.
It's a co-investment, so they have to show commitment that in this course we don't just give grants for grants purposes, but we don't require that you pay that money back. We just require that we work together, we measure the milestones that we have seen, and of all things that the farmers are benefiting, and there is a commercially sustainable relationship between the business that we support and the farmers.
Judy Odongo, the Deputy Chief of Party of Feed the Future Kenya Crops and Dairy Marketing System, says the 5-year program has improved market access and offered essential inputs to smallholder farmers to enhance productivity, which has seen targeted households grow incomes by 20%.
The farmers we have reached to date are 300,000 plus, 200,000 of those actually adopting modern technologies, and we have seen increased income of maybe 20%.
She says the empowerment initiatives play a crucial role in shaping the future of farming and enhancing the livelihoods of farmers. Trevor Ngindo for Prime Edition.
Mchezaji wa Loto Moto.
Mungu awabariki sana.
Ni wengi wanakushukuru bila hata wewe kufahamu.
Niliona Mungu wa ajabu ameshuka.
Ni wengi wanaokuaminia.
Imejaa, imebaki, yani hamtasafi.
Ni wengi wanaokuombea ushindi.
Hawa ndio niachiwe na mama yao wakati aliwajeka kwa muda.
Ni wengi unaowagusa kwa kuwapa afueni na imani ya maisha.
Asante na Mungu akubariki pia.
Ni wengi unawatembelea.
Through hii program ndo tunajua vitu zingine.
Na imani yako inawapa amani.
Akaaga juu ya kansa.
Ushindi wako ni wa wengi.
Roma niendanga, Roma.
Asante mchezaji wa Loto Moto.
You did choose treason and betrayal over friendship, even when you had the choice not to do it. What a convenient little bed for you, right?
And don't make that face because I saw it myself. What? Is that what you do on your free time now? You contemplate her?
Of course not, Teresa. You are wrong.
Oh, so what were you doing there, huh? Tell me.
Sergio, he just asked me for a divorce.
But how is that possible?
No. It's just... Oh, this must be some sort of mistake. Pilar, why would my son do something like that when they make the perfect couple?
Sergio has been cheating on me with another woman.
Welcome back. We continue with business. High outlay costs, complex transfer processes, and a liquidity squeeze are some of the challenges slowing the development of real estate investment trusts in Kenya. Here is Nduta Mukami with that story for you.
Among the barriers to the growth of real estate investment trusts has been the high entry investment amount. Previously, one was required to invest a minimum of 5 million shillings, which has since been lowered to 100,000 shillings to attract more investors.
The regulation sought to address emerging and legacy challenges involved in investing in immovable property. These challenges, which include high outlay costs, complex transfer process, and lack of liquidity, had restricted access to this asset class and hindered the mobilization of capital to fund large-scale real estate projects in Kenya and the region.
The low capital investment threshold is expected to create a pool for purpose-built housing units, targeting those at the bottom of the economic pyramid.
Moreover, the government's unwavering emphasis on promoting affordable housing initiatives has added this dynamic landscape.
We are seeing more institutional type investment. It has been 100% a mom and pop type space. Small operators, very, 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 small holdings. But now the space is beginning to institutionalize, and that's good.
Even though the real estate sector has been registering double-digit growth in the recent years, high capital requirements, complex transfer processes, and high interest rates have slowed.
Equally, we had a strong desire to offer our investors alternative investment instruments for effective capital distribution and for portfolio development.
Players in the real estate investment trusts are targeting 500 billion shillings in right market capitalization in 5 years.
Turkana County prides in the Elias Springs, Lake Turkana, and stunning sand beaches, besides spectacular sand dune scenery for would-be visitors. The shores of Lake Turkana are also dotted with palm trees, complementing the beauty of Turkana. Tonight on Magical Scenes, we highlight Turkana and her beauty.
Turkana County borders the countries of Uganda to the west, South Sudan to the north, Ethiopia to the northeast. Lake Turkana is on the east of Turkana County. The alluring beauty of Lake Turkana speaks for itself. The lake was allegedly discovered in 1888 by Hungarian and Australian. It was thereafter christened Lake Rudolf in honor of Crown Prince Rudolf of Austria. The lake was in 1975 renamed by the government of Kenya to Lake Turkana after the Turkana people. The destination has continually attracted intrepid travelers to date.
Stars are so beautiful. You see the Milky Way. You see thousands of stars because we are almost at the equator, and we see the northern and the southern hemisphere. So it's a paradise for people who are interested in stargazing. Turkana has a beautiful culture. People who come here, they wish to have a glimpse of that culture. Maybe they want to visit a cultural village, which is possible, which we can also organize.
From Lodwar, you would do at most an hour drive to Lake Turkana. Lake Turkana is one of the best kept secrets discovered in Kenya. The destination has an array of beauty, from the beach products along the lake, the vegetation around the lake, and the sand dunes found around the area would encourage you to a desert safari. The greenish-blue lake has panoramic view.
Along the lake, around 11 kilometers, we have Napiget sand dunes. It's good for sports, car sports activities. Also, again, we have Wadaj pyramids along the road towards Kalokol. Wadaj pyramids is known to be, we've named it as pyramids of Wadaj because it has some natural pyramids. It was due to water erosions.
The landscape around the lake is surrounded with lush green dome palm trees, a far cry from the dry, scorched look associated with arid and semi-arid areas. The tranquility of this part of Kenya is arguably magical enough to lure one to sit on the banks of the lake or get into the waters at the shores of the lake. Alternatively, enjoy a ride to the sand dunes of Turkana. Irene Mchuma Udim, Multiple Sense in the county of Turkana.
Tuache kudanganyana. Hapa mali safi, mali mbichi, kijani kibichi. Tuko Lucky Game, tunashibishana. Dial *570#. Chagua sanduku ya Lucky Game. Utapata sanduku 7 zinakungoja mahali pale. Chagua yako. Mali kibao, tuko na viti, tuko na vifriji hapa, tuko na TV, tuko na microwave, na pia tuko na chapa. All happening kwa *570#. Jishibishe.
Pindi tunapowasha vifaa vyetu, tunapata fursa ya kutangamana na wasikilizaji wetu.
Karibu sana thĩinĩ wa tabarĩra ya Rwĩga.
Tunapeperusha utangazaji uliobobea katika habari,
nĩ ũndũ wa macio na mangĩ maingĩ,
burudani,
ni hali ya tukoragwo tukĩigua nyĩmbo mwaki nyĩmbo hoda,
na hamasisho la kiroho. Usiachwe nyuma. Jiunge nasi kwa safari ya kufana katika 99.5 FM. Soro FM.
Katika hii investigation, sasa ile wewe limaliza, wewe lipata mimi ni nani ya marehemu?
Wewe ni ndugu yake.
Na wewe lipata hii msichana Lucy ni nani yake?
Ni mtoto yake, hata kama sio biological, yeye ameadapt na akachukua hiyo majukumu ya mzazi kwake.
Yes, I think that is correct because automatically wewe find out ya kwamba yeye si part of the family.
Kwa hivyo wewe unajua huyu si mtoto wa ndugu yako?
As far as I am concerned, huyu si mtoto ya.
Una uhakika gani? Mbona walikuwa wenye mali waliwacha urithi yeye ndiye achukue? Mbona hawakukuandikia wewe kama wewe ndio ulikuwa unahusika?
This was a mistake. And after this case I'm going to challenge that will in a court.
Objection in your honor. I'm so sorry.
Sasa huyu naye ni nani?
I'm very late.
Wewe ni nani?
I'm a lawyer.
Lawyer wa nani?
Professional mheshimiwa.
Lawyer wa nani?
Wa makofia mheshimiwa. So, can we go to Cap 63?
Who are you representing? Wewe.
Welcome back. Micro, small and medium-sized enterprises are increasingly embracing smart bookkeeping methods, mobile financial technology, and organized stable banking practices in efforts to grow their businesses. Despite this, they still face challenges accessing credit and training on business acumen. Our reporter Alan Oko spoke to MicroSave Consulting Financial Services Specialist Kim Kariuki on what small businesses need to do to expand their pool of financiers, and this is how that conversation went.
Hello and welcome. My name is Alan Aoko. At a time that the country is grappling with credit access, especially being felt down to the micro, small and medium enterprises level, women are grappling with the very same challenge. Imagine small businesses at the grassroots just looking to get by at a time when economic turmoil seems to be hitting them the most. But today we want to talk about financing these small businesses, and we are joined with none other than Kim Kariuki, who is a banking and financial services consultant at MicroSave. Welcome to this show.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I want to start with this question. Tell us about some of the projects that you're doing, especially when it comes to empowering women in small businesses in the country and the region.
So we've been blessed to work with a very unique set of partners, clients and funders, individuals who understand that financial inclusion can be a catalyst to greater economic prosperity for women. And so some of the projects we're working on allow us to design new products and services that meet the needs of women. They also allow us to have candid conversations with the financial ecosystem to understand what is driving the cost of credit. And sometimes these conversations are with government, sometimes they are with large financial institutions, with a vision of trying to lower the cost of credit. Because ultimately, if we can pull down the cost of credit, the wholesale credit that the lenders have access to, ultimately that will trickle down through the ecosystem if we make the right interventions with the financial service providers so that then they can roll out those benefits and provide accessible, affordable and convenient credit to women.
Perhaps maybe you can tell us, why is it important to empower these women in business, the mama mboga? Why is it important that you empower them into this business space?
Correct. So it's extremely important because on the one hand, women in most countries, at least in Uganda, there are more than men. So I think it's 51% women and 49% men. In Kenya, it's nearly half, but I think that the skew is going towards more women. So when you think about it from a public policy standpoint, women are a sizable force in society, in our economic lives, in our families. They play very pivotal roles in society. So at the bare minimum, they should have access to equitable and accessible and affordable financial services to help them grow their businesses and keep their families afloat. Then when you think about their access, it's most programs that we're working on and also that funders are interested in are trying to drive affordable, convenient and accessible credit to women. There may be differences between men and women borrowers and their ability to repay, which intriguingly research has shown that women are better repayers of loans than men. So it's important to look at it holistically, very important for us to think about the differences and the reasons that have kept women lagging behind. And more so now when financial services are going digital. And that digital divide, again, has been shown in some markets to be working against women.
You've spoken about the government in making an enabling environment for this to take place. Perhaps maybe you can tell us about what else can the government do? Is it an issue of policy? Is it an issue of legislation? What can be done to make this work easier?
So I'll give two examples. I think if I think of the India example and where Microsaver has done a lot of work, the priority sector lending norms in India unlocked a space for private sector players to lend at affordable rates to productive sectors. So think of agriculture, think of textiles. And I think that's what we really need here in some aspects. So there's a lot of space there. But I think as well, even from the ongoing government initiatives, and there are quite a number and they're all very well-meaning, I think if there is space to think about how to increase the access without causing market distortions. So when you have solutions that are broad netting, which is great because they'll pull in a lot of people, we need to have a clear graduation pathway out for those people who come in at say one of the government solutions. If they come in at a low interest rate and they can successfully repay that, to ensure sustainability, it would be great if they can graduate on to a different product or service by the private sector. So I think opening the data trails to allow graduation, and we're seeing actually, coincidentally, financial service providers realizing the same thing. Initially you talked about what about the women in chamas. So we're seeing financial service providers creating applications that are running in parallel to their core banking system with the vision that they can build a data trail to understand Mama Mboga in chamas, for example. And ultimately, when Mama Mboga has grown to a level of a thriver and she can no longer, her business can no longer just tolerate or be sustained by the level of credit through her chama, she can then be onboarded onto the formal financial service platform. And that can happen quickly. And that will then accelerate the pace of financial growth and create a pipeline. So then for every person who graduates out, the theory being others will be waiting at the bottom to come in.
We're at a time of economic upheavals, and we are seeing, for example, the dollar now hitting record highs against the Kenyan shilling. I mean, how does a company, an organization like yourself, a development partner like yourself, manage to navigate these headwinds even as you try to empower women?
I mean, it is difficult on everyone, notwithstanding the shocks that MSMEs are facing are also the shocks that the private sector is facing. It's also the same shocks that the government is facing. So we are all caught in this circus of high inflation, very strong dollar, subdued global demand, and so all of us are trying to figure out the way forward. But I think for financial institutions and for women SMEs, there is an opportunity for both minds to come together and explore what can be best done to unlock the cost of financing. So we tend to think of it in three pillars. So on the access side, one of the challenges of the traditional types of loans that we may all be comfortable with is that if they're paper-based, it means there is a big machinery behind the scenes that has to process the paperwork. But thanks to technology now, you have advanced solutions that can minimize not only the time, but the effort and the cost required to do a single loan appraisal. So we're seeing a lot of digital financial services and providers coming into the market to digitize loan operations, right from origination to disbursement to collections. And that has a humongous effect not only on the customer experience, because nobody wants to sit around and wait for a loan that's going to come in 7 days if a mobile service provider can give them a loan in 24 hours. So that's helping to drive down the cost. But we know those investments take time and there is more that needs to be done. Not so much in this market, in other markets where Microsafe has worked, we've seen government interventions being very strong at lowering the cost of credit. So it's in private sector-led markets like most of Africa, the financial institutions respond mainly to market stimuli. So if the central bank increases the rates on their T-bills and T-bonds, all the other financial service providers respond in turn. But we're finding that in other markets where government has a stronger play, where government can mandate and say you will lend to certain sectors at a particular rate, that helps the ecosystem find a new equilibrium. But that also requires government support. So even in our local market here in Kenya, we are seeing some good and noble government initiatives that are trying to address the cost of capital by attacking those three levels of accessibility, convenience, and affordability. But to get them to scale requires a lot more because our market is very private sector dominant. But aside from the accessibility question, there's an issue of convenience. So today, women entrepreneurs can easily access their mobile phone, download an app, or even use their SIM toolkit and request for a loan, start repaying the loan, etc. So that convenience has come at a great cost. One, it's to deploy that technology in some instances can be expensive, but fortunately providers are trying to push the cost down and creating middleware solutions that make it possible for banks to deploy solutions but not necessarily have to invest in the full kit. But still, that convenience also means that, or could potentially, if not handled well, and I think this is sometimes the hesitation that we see with some financial institutions, the cost of convenience is that the financial institution can easily lose control.
What is the role of technology in trying to embed financial inclusion into the work of these women? Because we have seen on the ground some of them use very rudimentary methods of bookkeeping, for example, manually writing into what we call manual ledgers. How do we incorporate technology into this work?
Sure. In my past life, I used to develop a lot of products and services for financial institutions. One of the things we used to say back then is if you have a male and a female customer, a woman customer will take a longer time to understand what's going on. She'll need a bit more time to be fully settled with the technology. But once she gets it, it will spread like wildfire. And we've seen this time and time again in the proliferation of even very informal group-based financial services like chamas. If you look at chamas and how they've grown, they've been fairly heavy women-led, and very strong leadership opportunities have arisen for women within those chamas. So I think the first thing comes from being able to look at the segments, the men and the women, thinking about where are women strongest, where do they thrive, what environment actually suits them. So we found that when women are given a chance to access the technology, when they're given the chance to use the technology and at their pace. So also in my past when I was designing a lot of products and services, one of the things we found was, unlike men who, you tell him here is a mobile financial service and they'll tinker around with it, they'll experiment and they'll try. Women generally tend to use and adopt new technology from word of mouth referrals and from their networks. So in the institution that I was at, we found instances where there were older women and there were younger women. And one question that kept troubling our minds is why would the younger women want to be in a small savings group with the older women? And the lessons that we learned time and time again were that there was some mutual reinforcing behavior that was actually keeping these women together. So the younger women were learning from the older women in terms of how to manage their families, how to manage their business, what to look out for. And then the older women were learning from the younger women on how to use technology. And because they were learning from sources that they trusted, and oftentimes these women were their peers or they were their children or relatives, it was easier for them to understand the technology, to start using the technology, to overcome any barriers that they may have had to using the technology because they didn't understand or they didn't feel comfortable or confident to go out and actually ask how to use the service. In fact, there have been studies that have been done by SIGAP and others that have shown if you can convert a decent population of cash-in, cash-out agents to women, you then create a space for more digital financial access and usage for women, because when they go to the shop, when they go to the trader, when they're trying to use mobile money, if they see a woman on the other side, they're more comfortable and willing to trust the system.
From what you've seen on the ground, when we go to the ground and interview these women, they do tell us that one of the main issues they have is access to credit. Perhaps maybe you can enlighten us, given the competition that even Mamboga or yourselves you get when they do table banking, they come together by themselves and look at ways to save. I mean, how do you get into that niche knowing that you have this happening with the table banking?
Mambogas are probably one of the most resilient in this market. So as Microsoft, we've been fortunate working with different financial service providers, and almost the same thing we hear from one provider is this thing we hear from the next one, is that because Mambogas have very short-term working capital needs on a day-to-day basis, they need to buy stock to upscale and expand their businesses. They're very quick at borrowing from any of the mobile service providers, repay by the end of the day so you don't incur any debt, so then they start the next day and continue the cycle. So financial service providers have opened up to this reality, and based on that repayment pattern, they are gradually ramping up their loans and access to credit. So just by them practicing that financial discipline already is gaining them traction. But I think where the conversation isn't fully told, and I think this is where, as financial service providers, as the ecosystem, we need to think about how do we create confidence. In my past life, we used to say that when it comes to credit, you will borrow from anyone. So initially, actually, Microsoft's goal was to, when we got started, was to expand the suite of offerings that are available to low-income segments and break the linkage or the automatic association that the only thing that vulnerable communities need is credit, to expanding it to micro-savings, so hence microsave. So I think if we as an ecosystem can encourage women to save, and we've seen a number of government initiatives that have been trying to get Mambogas to save and even engage in government treasury instruments. Of course, some of those solutions still need to be further tweaked to understand the cash realities of Mamboga and other informal traders. There is more space for us to mobilize savings in a way that makes sense. So from our past work, again, as Michael said, we've learned that as much as Mamboga will borrow and repay on time, when she has excess in her wallet, she will pull that money out and either put it in a lock savings or she will go and give it to her chama. So then, whereas that is good, Could that money be earning a little bit more interest? Could Mama Mboga be enticed to purchase a government security, perhaps if it was not as pricey? Could Mama Mboga as part of a chama, as part of a large group of chama, could they mobilize resources and among all of them purchase the upcoming infrastructure bond? So I think we need to start having conversations that link the informal financial space more with the government and the policies and the financial solutions that are available. So in some other markets where microsavers work, for example, we learned that in Ghana, the chamas are registered. So that makes it a lot easier for chamas to mobilize their savings, but also to coordinate certain policy initiatives to support chamas, to support the women, to give them better access to finance and better solutions for savings and credit.
And finally, as we wind up the interview, what would be your final call and to whom?
One is to the government. And I'll start off by saying, thank you for the initiatives and for creating a stabilizing environment in which ecosystem actors can thrive. Of course, we realize government is juggling with multiple different things. And I think the ask of the government is not to lose sight of the big picture. And I think the big picture when the government began was to include as many people within the financial net. And that has different aspects to it. It has business formalization, business registration, it has interest rates, it has compliance costs, it has, trying to meet the needs of hustlers who are trying to graduate and get their way to thrivers. I think my next clarion call would be to financial service providers, not to give up. So I think every day we see very interesting things happening in the media. We are seeing some financial institutions increasing their rates. At the same time, we are seeing that having knock-on effects and causing high levels of debt distress. We are seeing high non-performing loans increasing. And then we're also seeing financial institutions having to have conversations back with their borrowers to encourage them to keep repaying, to maintain the cost of credit low. So I tell them not to give up in the fight. I think they are also trying to figure out how to collect and lend money affordably and productively. I think there's more to be done when it comes to thinking about the untapped needs of business. I think what we're seeing in this ecosystem and in markets now is the level of innovation is such that you and I can be sitting here and we can borrow large amounts of money without even having to leave our seats. So if the financial institutions give up that fight, give up the innovation, they will find that new market entrants will come, the likes of merchant lenders, etc., where where you're asking for collateral, this merchant lender is happy to give a loan just based on the value of the stock.
Well, there you have it. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Alan Oko. We do hope you got some valuable insights into the world of small businesses, especially if you're a woman there who has a small business and you're looking for credit to buy stock and to make your business grow from the ground. We have been talking to Kim Kariuki, who is the banking and financial services consultant at Microsave Consulting. He has given us invaluable insight and we do thank him for that. Thank you for watching. Goodbye for now.
Thank you, Alan Oko. That's quite interesting, the study there on how the different sexes even embrace technology. Let me take you to the counties where several school principals in Suna East in Migori County are calling for quick implementation of school feeding programs in the regions facing food insecurity. The chairperson of the school's Board of Management, Goodness Oucho, attributes the school's underperformance in academics to the frequent absenteeism of students, primarily driven by hunger and inadequate infrastructure.
In the eastern part of Suna within Migori County, poverty and hunger has been a major blow to students attending local schools. Ombo Primary School, situated in Suna West Ward, is one of the institutions that have been severely affected by these challenges.
They might not be able to manage fully, but again, if we have the support of the stakeholders, right, then we will manage.
If it is lunchtime, majority that is just playing in the school compound here is a big number. So it means they have nowhere to go back and get their lunch.
Program to vulnerable students in school would be a game changer. Lots of kids are starving. That's a fact.
Elsewhere, people with hearing impairment in Kakamega County have benefited from a program courtesy of a non-governmental organization, Sense International Kenya. The NGO is helping people with deaf blindness to run small businesses in order to cope with life.
Getting market for them sometimes is a difficulty because now people have this voyeur mentality where they would not really believe that these are people who can do it by themselves, and I hope you've seen that they can really, do something.
And in other news, women have been challenged to venture into entrepreneurship and business so as to eke a living. Tapware South African Regional Sales Manager Cynthia Mabaso revealed that kitchen business and food products is the best venture for women who want to grow their income.
So there's definitely a great opportunity. When I was checking the stats, there's about 53% unemployment rate in the country. That alone tells me that there is an opportunity for people to be empowered and help them to bring money and put money in their pockets.
And I also got gifted this beautiful Ultra Pro. I got gifted because my team Zoe, performed very well in Q3. We were the best performers at Inua Sales.
Timothy Kipnusu for Prime Edition.
Mchezaji wa Loto Moto.
Mungu awabariki sana.
Ni wengi wanakushukuru bila hata wewe kufahamu.
Niliona Mungu wa ajabu ameshuka.
Ni wengi wanaokuaminia.
Imejaa, imebaki, yani hamtasabi.
Ni wengi wanaokuombea ushindi.
Hawa ndio niachiwe na mama yao wakati aligojeka kwa muda.
Ni wengi unaowagusa kwa kuwapa afueni na imani ya maisha.
Asante na Mungu akubariki pia.
Ni wengi unawatembelea.
Through hii program ndo tunajua vitu zingine.
Na imani yako inawapa amani.
Akaaga juu ya kansa.
Ushindi wako ni wa wengi.
Roma niendanga, Roma.
Asante mchezaji wa Loto Moto.
And yes, indeed, a very good evening. Welcome to Channel Run Sports. I'm Bernard Okumu. And we begin with athletics, where world 800 meters silver medalist Emmanuel Wanyonyi is among 3 athletes who have been shortlisted to battle for the 2023 World Athletics Rising Star Award. Now, the award is given to an athlete aged 20 years and below who exhibited exemplary performances.
Wanyonyi finished second in the 800 meters race behind Marco Krop of Canada at the 2023 World Athletics Championship in Budapest, Hungary. He's also a Diamond League champion after emerging victorious in 3 legs of the series in Rabat, Morocco, Paris, France, and Xiamen, China. He also won a gold medal in the mixed relay at the World Cross Country Championships in Bathurst, Australia. Other athletes who made the cut include 400 meters athlete Roshan Clark of Jamaica and World 200 meters silver medalist Arion Knighton of United States. The winner of the 2023 Men's Rising Star Award will be selected by an international panel of experts will be announced on World Athletics platforms on 11th of next month. Jenna Bwile for Prime Edition.
And Postal Rangers have opened a 1-point gap at the top of the FKF Premier League after being held to a 1-1 draw by Kakamega Homeboys at Buhungu Stadium today. Now, the Kakamega based side put up a great fight against the league's top team to defend their home ground from another loss and struck fast in the 7th minute, but the scoreline was level in the 32nd minute. Meanwhile, Shabana FC are yet to make a mark in the Premier League this season despite securing a 20 million shillings sponsorship from Bangbet. Now Shabana have only won 1 of the 9 matches they played so far this season, losing 4 and drawing 4 times, with their latest loss coming yesterday against Gor Mahia. Now the Gusii Best side sits second from bottom on 7 points only, just 1 point above bottom place Nzoia Sugar, and play Bandari FC next on Sunday. And champions of the first edition of the Africa Football League will be decided on the 11th of this month when South Africa's Mamelodi Sundowns host Wydad Casablanca of Morocco in the second leg of a 2-legged final. The first leg will be played in Morocco on the 5th of November.
The 2 legs of the African Football League final between Mamelodi Sundowns and Wydad Casablanca will be played on the 5th and the 11th of this month. Sundowns, who travelled to Wydad in the first leg on the 5th, made it to the final with a 1-0 aggregate win over Egyptians giant Al Ahly in the semi-final. Mamelodi's first leg home victory was enough to book them that spot in the final as they held Al Ahly to a goalless draw in Egypt. Wydad Casablanca secured their place in the final after edging Esperance of Tunisia on penalties following a 1-1 aggregate draw in the semi-final. Wydad and Esperance both won 1-0 at home, and the tie had to be decided from the spot, with Wydad proving better than Esperance in the sport kicks.
The miss couldn't make a save.
And across the borders now we're to Carabao Cup, where Manchester United manager Erik ten Hag says the club is in a bad place, but that he still believes he is the right man to stop the downward spiral at Old Trafford. Newcastle's 3-0 EFL Cup win was their biggest away success over Manchester United in 93 years and condemned them to their 8th defeat in 15 matches. Now their worst start to a season since 1962-1963 season.
Almiron into the penalty area.
First half goals from substitute Miguel Almiron and Lewis Hall were followed up by a solo effort from Joe Willock on the hour to give Newcastle their biggest away win over their hosts in 93 years as they cruised into the Carabao Cup quarter-finals. Arsenal were also eliminated from the competition after a 3-1 loss to West Ham United. West Ham took the lead via an own goal by Ben White in the 16th minute before Mohamed Kudus finished low through the legs of Gabriel. Bowen fired in the 3rd goal as Odegaard snatched one back as the Gunners' 30-year wait to win the League Cup continued.
Good goal.
Elsewhere, goals from Benoit Badiashile and Raheem Sterling were enough to beat Championship side Blackburn Rovers 2-0 at Stamford Bridge as they won for the first time at home since a 3rd-round victory against Brighton in late September.
Chelsea look like they'll be making the quarter-finals.
Liverpool progressed to the next stage of the competition as goals from Cody Gakpo and Darwin Núñez helped them beat Bournemouth 2-1. Liverpool will face West Ham in the quarter-finals while Chelsea will take on Newcastle.
And does so quite...
Well, and that win by Newcastle United against Manchester United nearly a century is how we wrap it up on sports at this lovely Thursday evening. I'm Bernardo Kumo. Thank you so much for watching Channel 1 Sports this Thursday. But back to Cynthia Nyamai to bring the curtains down on today's bulletin.
Thank you, Okumu. And that wraps up Prime News for tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. I do have one comment from Nyla Tropical, who says that she did enjoy the interview on financial inclusion. Thank you so much from me and the rest of the team. I would like to wish you a very good night.
I want to show them my attitude. Yeah bana, ni chuo kikuu cha burudani, mashavu.
Sifika bei umechapa, kitambe meja utahata. Nyumbani kaumbea.
Burudani. Twende tukacheze bango. Mama it takes two to tango. Na interview kali kutoka Pwani.
Kucheza nawe. Baby nimechizi nawe.
Na ukitaka tuiwashe leo.
Bwana, kila siku ya Friday ama Ijumaa ukipenda saa 3 hadi saa 6 kamili.
Nafanya kama unacheza isoko.
Kumbuka hashtag Masha. Nyumbani kwa burudani. Usikose tegea show kali tokea pande za Pwani.
Anachukua, anaweka wa le général Dangote. Anachukua, anaweka wa le grand Bao. Anachukua, anaweka wa boss ya mbuka. Anachukua, anaweka wa.
I praise Allah for sending me you, my love. You found your home, it's here with me, and I'm here with you.
Kile ambacho Dhulkarnain aliweza kukifanya